Mike, I'm moving on to the next topic. I'd like to come to yourself. So, Rob gave a great overview there in terms of how to support partners with the renewals pipeline. So what I'd like to kind of get into now is a little bit of, how do you measure the success of that renewals program, and specifically maybe at Ribbon, how do you measure renewal rates? How do you share that with partners? And really, how do you manage? Because I know you guys, having worked with you, Mike, you've done a really great job on driving that to very, very high rates, much higher than a lot of companies we work with. So be really interested to kind of hear about your journey, where you started, where you are now, and the steps you took along the way to achieve those kind of renewal rates.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Ken. Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to, what we just talked about a bit, right? Measurement and visibility. If I kind of think back 6 to 7 years ago when I came into this role, and at the time Ribbon was coming really together out of a merger of two companies, Genband and Sonus, right? There was a lot of churn in the teams, the organization, the data. If I look back at that time, we didn't have any renewal KPIs defined. We didn't have targets. We didn't have performance trend data for ourselves, nonetheless our partners. We were merging CRMs, we were changing quote tools, and then we did it all over again. So, everything was just kind of a mess. The data was just not there. We had, I'm going to say flawed data, gaps. Even our renewals processes weren't consistent because of the merger. We had people kind of doing things different ways at different times. So really, we had to start, with the basics of what is it we want to do, what is it we want to measure. What are our goals for the renewal business, and sort of build that around, obviously the key renewal type KPIs that most companies look at, right? Your renewal rates, your on-time performance, are we sending quotes on time? What are our churn rates? All those types of things. We had to really build it from the ground up because we didn't have the data because of the integration and the M&A activity. So we had to update data, we had to update our tools to be able to collect the data that we wanted to collect. We had to change our processes and align our processes so everybody was doing the same thing at the same time and doing it the same way, so we could actually consistently measure things in that regard. And I would say that early phase of getting the data right was really key, right? It was, you've got to have visibility to what you're doing, and that was just hugely important to Ribbon's journey. As the saying goes, you can't manage what you can't measure. So we had to measure it first, right? And that took a while. That took, probably the first year of my tenure in this role was just kind of getting things set up to be able to measure in a way that we could consistently look at the data and use the data. Once we had the data, everything changed, right? We were able to baseline ourselves. We were able to benchmark ourselves. We were able to set target for ourselves. We could segment that data in different ways. We could look at it by customer type, by deal size, by region, go-to-market models, product by services, everything we wanted to do, we could slice and dice that data. And what that allowed us to do is look at the areas where we were working well and also the areas that we weren't. So we could look at those things and say, okay, we're doing really well in that area. Why are we doing so well? And we're not doing so well in that area. Why are we not doing very well? And that really led us down the path of kind of looking specifically at our small to mid-sized channel renewals as a key opportunity for us, right? Because it was an area we were frankly underperforming. You could look at the rest of our business, and we were doing, much, much better in terms of our renewal rates and all of the KPIs that we wanted to look at. But that small to medium-sized business through channels was a struggle for us, right? It was an obvious eyesore. So, with that data, we were able to kind of open up discussions, have discussions with our partners and our distributors. We could benchmark the renewal performance against other partners and distributors. We could look at the renewal performance over time. And more importantly, we could kind of discuss with them what's working, what's not working, what do you need from us, what can we do to help both of us drive these things to where we all want them to be, right? So that was key, right? Just kind of being able to have that conversation confidently with accurate data, and understand from the partners and the distributors' perspective what they needed. We also made a decision at that point in time to establish what I'll call a dedicated renewals chase team. So it's kind of the proverbial we threw people at the problem, right? So we had we had a gap, and the easiest way to plug that gap was just put people on it, right? And so we put a team together, we aligned them to the partners, the key partners and the distributors, right? And we just used that to establish a much tighter relationship with our key partners, to develop strategies with each partners, and as I said, sort of meet them where they're at, right? What is it you need from us to be able to be more successful? And we've maintained that, and I think that, as much as anything, has been really, really good, right? Because again, it's allowed us to sort of set those cadences with our partners, allowed us to give them better visibility to what's coming and what's past due, and work with them on status and strategies to get things over the line when they were a bit stuck. So I think that was key. And obviously, again, with that data, you can give different visibility, and over time, we started using that data internally for ourselves. But as that data got stronger and stronger, we started turning that over to our partners and sharing that data with them so they could see it. And I would say that has kind of helped, what's the terminology I would use, but maybe like self-police a little bit, right? Because when you're able to talk to a customer about, or a partner or a distributor about, this is how you're doing, and this is what our goals and objectives are, and here's where everybody else is doing, so what can we do to get there? That seems to have made a big difference the way our relationship with our partners has gone. So I'll just kind of finish by saying, when we started this area in the 2018 timeframe, I'll say our overall channel renewal rates were under 70%, not very good. In 2023, we hit 86%, so massive improvement over 5 years. Very specifically in this small to mid-size segment, we were down in the low 60s. Now we're at 80%. So that was a key element of bringing this stuff together. I'll say you have to still dig at these things. Working through the channel, as Rob said, is you've got to follow a certain recipe and a certain playbook. Talk to your distributors, talk to your partners, get to your end customers. Make sure all that's synced up and work through all the questions and issues. But from my perspective, it all started with the data. You have to be able to measure it. You got to be able to make it visible, and then you got to use that to kind of build the relationships with your partners to drive to the targets.
Yeah, no, that's great, Mike. Really, really insightful. Thank you very much. And I agree with you. Like, we do this with lots of customers, and it always starts with the data. I can see, Rob is laughing there, but like, we've always data challenges, right? And I would kind of say to the audience, look, it's never as bad to solve those data challenges. There's really good tools and systems today to take that data, to mine it. And kind of to add to what you said there, Mike, getting to that self-service model is really important, because you can't scale. You threw some people at it, but you're never going to have enough people to serve 5,000 or 50,000 renewals. It really has to be a self-service mechanism as you scale up, and especially through distribution. So having that data, pushing it out through your portal or whatever mechanism or dashboard you use to show partners and distributors, what renewals are coming up, but also measuring them and almost self-measuring. You're at 60%, we'll incentivize you to get to 70 or 80%, etc. That does drive engagement, and as we all know, engagement in the channel can be a tough thing, but because there's reward in it for the partners, not just the incentivization piece, but the actual revenue piece, you will definitely get engagement. Versus, we talk a lot about this, but what's the alternative? The alternative is, you send them an email or you send them a spreadsheet and they don't even friggin' open it, right? So whereas if you can put them onto a click through, you're straight onto a winner, right? So, okay, great. So Rob or Sinead, anything you'd like to add to, that the points Mike made there about, ultimately measuring the performance of the program? Anything you guys want to chime in with?
I mean, for me, the interesting thing is, Mike said it, it's I do a lot of executive meetings where the partner, the distributor will say, "Hey, Rob, I renew 100% of everything," and we go to the measuring tape and we pull it out and we're like, here's the clean data, here's what it shows you, and oh, by the way, you're really only renewing at a 75% rate, and oh, by the way, if you move that 2 points up, 3 points, 4 points up, this is what it means to you. Because to me, that's the big part of the ROI. Like, it's a captive customer base in that, hey, they've renewed before, you expect them to renew again. You should be capitalizing on that that install base of those customers, and there's a return on that investment there. It's you know, it's not hunting, it's farming, and farm it. And if you can grow off of farming, that's just as good as hunting. So to me, that sometimes there's a difficult conversation even with our channel partners and our distributors around, hey, you really aren't performing. And we do provide financial incentives behind the discounts they get, you know, rebate programs, various rebate programs. But you got to be able to show them what that means. And that to me is where you get the executive's attention and say, hey, you could have put another $200,000 in your back pocket if you had done this. And they're like, oh wow, we didn't know, or we weren't paying attention. So it's getting them to be aware of the situation and taking advantage of it. Because again, I have a lot of customers and partners that, you know, it's a roller coaster. I mean, we all have been in technology. It's a roller coaster ride. You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. When you're up, it's like, okay, the customers are renewing when they get the great. When the business is down, hey, now you look internally to your customer base and say, hey, how do I maximize my customer base that I have? Because things aren't going, maybe the economy's bad, and we have that today in certain geos. Great. Mr. Partner, let's work together to capture more of the install base, get it covered, make sure they're maximizing the licenses, and make sure the end customer is seeing the value of that so that we continue to renew every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so I would just make an extra little point. I won't take too much time, but on that, what Rob was saying about, you know, partners feeling like they have, you know, renewed 100% every year, but when you show them the data and it could be only 75, 80%, when that's happening, they don't know. So they don't know off the top of their head why that 20% aren't renewing, or 15%, or whatever it may be. So if they do see the data, they can go back to those customers. Why are you not renewing? And then that can form trends over time. Is it the product that needs to be fixed? Whatever the reasons are, you can see trends when you actually ask the question as to why. But if people only have a feeling that they're renewing a certain value, then you'll never get to the nub of why people aren't renewing.
Yeah. Just to kind of add to one thing Rob said there as well, just in case it doesn't come out, it's the visibility piece. Because when you share with a large partner or distributor, actually you're only doing 70%, and if this other 30% is worth X 100,000, or in many cases X millions of dollars, and we'll incentivize you, it's no longer is it a difficult conversation, it's a how can we help basically conversation. So it's not, when you do it in the right way, it's very much a partner driven approach where they really do want to take advantage of that revenue, and it's in both parties' interests. So, you know, in every good partnership, both people succeed.